she had a pretty clear vision of her in her head. She said from when she was a teenager, even of the kind of man she wanted to be with. Talking with famous people. Somebody who was very dynamic and protective. Basically, she described an ENTP. My envisioned woman wasn't really an envisioned woman. It was an envisioned set of boxes that get checked.
Like principles of a person, but not necessarily the person in and of themselves, but the principle of what they embody that makes them a person. Whereas hers is actually an encapsulation of a human who fits with various different traits.
The aspects of character that I would think of that would normally be part of an encapsulated human more are things I see as prima facie burdens. Like the woman will have to be honest, well-intentioned, but I don't see those things as something that I look for, but as something that you should have by default no matter who you are, and if you don't, then there's something wrong with you and you're excluded. If you ask her and she'll think about it for a while, she'll come up with her one-word gist of a person.
But that sounds quite similar to, I think, something that I would do. For example, when we were talking about Mark, and I used the word receptive, you described gestational. It's as though sort of like the process that the person is actually going through.
Kim might be more likely in this model anyway to describe that as, say, listening.
When Kim was talking about what she would look for if she was going into like a completely new neighbor's house, I was thinking, I don't think I would be evaluating in the same way at all.
You wouldn't look at their stove?
No, well, definitely not.
You wouldn't make sure they had cleaned their stove is the first thing you think of?
No, not at all. that was an eye-opener, but
isn't that great? Can you imagine that? It's like, there's something that is just insanely endearing about ISFJ to me. I just am, everything about her makes me just love her more.
No, that is sweet, and I was going to say I can see the endearingness of it. It actually reminds me of my dad. He'll occasionally go to the grocery store, and he'll pick up something that's actually needed, only eaten or drunk by me and my sister. But it's as though he has that awareness of like, this thing is what supplies this need for that person.
Let me give you a very similar example. Just yesterday, I brought my stuff to the car. I was going to the car to, I'm about to leave for work, and I was like, you know what I should get before I leave, because my nose was running. I should go grab a roll of paper towels. And I got to the car with my stuff and put it in there and was about to go back to the house. I saw that she had put a roll of toilet paper, which is a much better choice, in the center thing, and it was right there waiting for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. It's like, oh shit, I should have bought this, and there it is. Yeah, well, that's love, SJ style, I guess.
Yep, SFJ love.
That thing to do with group belonging and inclusivity and judging whether this neighbor will fit into the constellation that I have already in mind. That's what I'm hearing when I'm listening to Kim. Whereas I was thinking that my evaluation or analysis is from me not existing. I'm not judging it through the lens of like the group that I belong with. Judgments or evaluations that I'm making are simply trying to understand without me being present within that frame.
You've got Newtonian FE physics. You like to pretend there's no observer and it has no impact on that which is being observed. And I likes to extract whatever change that is done by that observation from the equation and render it into universals. You know, of course, we can't actually know externals because they're external to us. And I know when I'm accidentally resting my cigarette against my hand and it's burning my flesh. I know that you don't hate me because of data, right? Because of data. That data maybe you do hate me secretly. This is a plan to get close to me to kill me. So my knowledge is less certain, right?
I don't think there's a complete divorcement or detachment of me as the observer from what's being observed. That's factored in as being another coordinate within the constellation of what is being observed.
And you say, no, I'm not ignoring the observer. I'm making the observer explicit in controlled ways so that I can account for the observer completely.
Yeah, but I can see how there's a contradiction in that, because ultimately it's like, where is the boundary of the system that you're observing, and how do you divorce the observer from the system that's being observed?
And linguistics says the boundary there is between illocutionary meaning of things and locutionary meaning of things. Anytime you make a statement, an illocutionary meaning of it is belief. And the reason is because it makes no sense to say, this is a lighter, and I don't believe that this is a lighter. So if I'm reading something, yes, there's an author in theory, there's an abstraction of a person it gets ascribed to, but it doesn't, you don't know anything about that person. You don't have any sort of social relationship with that person. So it's difficult for you to understand the individual illocutionary shit going on. Well, he's really writing this book because he's mad at his ex-wife, and his ex-wife was a big fan of this theory, and that's why he's trashing it so much. That's like an NI explanation of an illocutionary consideration when reading an author's work, but it still misses the point that actually every communication links to a single human being observer and is a reflection and manifestation of their personage. So both the NI and SI aspects of this whole thing are true. Talking with famous people. When a party prioritizes a given epistemology more strongly, then they are best served by trying to incorporate as much of the other epistemology into the holistic understanding as possible, is my general perspective on things.